Good evening. My name is Miss George and I am the proud principal of Quimby Oak Middle School. I want to welcome you here tonight to the Lobo School of Innovation Parent Information Night. One thing we're really proud of here at Quimby is that we have two academic choices for our students to choose between. LCP, which stands for Lobo Comprehensive Program, and LSI, which stands for Lobo School of Innovation. We pride ourselves on knowing that regardless of which choice your family chooses, both academic programs are rich and robust. We feel at this age in their academic career that you and themselves are able to choose which learning style best fits their needs. Regardless of the program that your family ends up choosing, again, you will always be a Lobo through and through. We hope you learn a lot from the presentation tonight, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the teachers that are here in attendance tonight, your site director, Mr. Stolin, or myself. We are going to get every question answered that you have and make sure that your time here at Quimby is going to be a successful one. Welcome and enjoy the evening.
Thank you so much for Miss George. In case you guys don't know, my name is Mr. Stolin. I am the site director of Lobo School of Innovation. I am actually a Lobo through and through. I was a student at Quimby Oak way back in the day. I have spent my entire educational career at Quimby Oak, first for 8 years as a teacher, including 2 years as part of the founding team of LSI. And this is now my third year as administrator, but my first year as a site director. I'm so excited to be part of this program again and continue the awesome work that we started. One of the awesome things about LSI is we always like to make sure that we highlight our students. So we want to make sure that our students that you know that we've got some students here that are able to speak about their experience at LSI, as well as how you might be able to see how your student might fit in. So I want to make sure that I get a chance for them all to say hi really quick. So Justin Campbell, if you could say hi and say who you are and what grade you're in.
Hi, my name is Justin Gamble, and I'm in 8th grade.
I got Noel Mello.
Hi, I'm Noel Bello, and I'm in 8th grade.
And I have Umair Shaheen with us as well.
Hi, my name is Umar Shaheen. I'm in grade 7 in LSI.
Thank you, Umair. Sophia was not able to make it with us, but she was another student that we were hoping to hear from. We are very proud of all of our students. These are some of our student ambassadors that stepped up and are willing to talk about their experience at LSI. So we're so excited to have them. Before we get into what student life looks like at LSI, we want to make sure that we start and understand kind of the purpose and why LSI currently exists. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Robinson, and she can get us started there.
Hi, I'm Ms. Robinson. I am one of the 8th grade science teachers. So as you saw from previous slides and from Ms. George, we are a school within a school design, which means that Quimby is sort of the larger umbrella. And then underneath that, we've got the Lobo Comprehensive Program, which is kind of the traditional style of teaching and learning. It does include teacher and teaming, following Common Core state standards, elective options, and traditional scheduling. Then there's the choice of Lobo School of Innovation, which is PBL learning, wall-to-wall PBL learning, project-based learning. And our choice, our program has integrated courses for English language arts and for history or social studies for 7th grade. We again have a project-based learning model, which we'll go into a little bit more tonight to kind of explain a little bit more on how that works. We have a course called Lighthouse, which differs depending on which Lighthouse you take. There are a lot of options, which again, we will go over. And we have block scheduling. Outside of the COVID world, our block scheduling is 70 minutes long for each class. We have 3 blocks of content core classes. In the beginning of the day, students will attend periods 1 and 2 along with LCP, meaning they share a PE class with LCP. And then they have their elective, whether it be band with LCP kids or coding with a mix of LCP and LSI. And then there are, again, the Lighthouse courses count as their elective, and that would be all LSI. LSI also has the teacher teaming, though it is 2 teachers in the room. with with the students. So we have kind of a co-teacher thing. Our mission statement, what we hope for and what we strive for is that every student at LSI can be an agent of change and have an impact on their own lives and be a positive light for the world around them. Lobo School of Innovation ignites 21st century learning where students collaborate, communicate, analyze, and contribute for a greater purpose. We have our own hopes and dreams with these learning outcomes, and it also ties in with Evergreen District's greater idea as well for profile of learner.
So what does that mean kind of in simple terms? It's really big. We want every student that attends LSI to be able to make an impact on the world around them with the knowledge that they're supposed to walk away with during their short time in middle school. So we want to make sure that they're applying their knowledge and thinking. We want to make sure that they're using the skills they're supposed to learn in a way that is authentic to their world around them, solving real world problems, but also is an experience that will allow them to remember and retain their information in a more concrete way. We want to make sure that every student that comes to LSI doesn't necessarily just learn what they need to know, but how it impacts them and why it's important. And ultimately, that leads to them being an advocate for change and being able to make an impact on themselves, the Quimby community, and the greater community around them. And that connects to our new tech design pillars, new tech network pillars that Ms. Gingrich is going to talk about.
Yes, so I'm Mrs. Gingrich. I teach 8th grade U.S. history, and I'm part of the U.S. narrative team, which includes language arts. So my partner is language arts. We mesh them together in everything that we do. So we follow the new tech design pillars. We have outcomes that matter. We really want to utilize learning outcomes that reflect the skills needed for our students to succeed in our ever-evolving learning and work environment. So not only in the present, but also in the future as well. We want them to be successful human beings and have the skills that they need to be successful in the real world. Our goal is always teaching that engages, using PBL and PRBL in math to allow students to demonstrate their proficiency in the learning standards. So not just giving them information, quiz and test, but looking at it through a different lens and different perspectives, and really allowing them to use their abilities to create and engage in what we're learning. We have a culture that empowers, and I have to say that's really the heart of LSI, is the culture and that feeling of belonging for both teachers and students. So creating that culture that reflects the values of the school, promotes student ownership over their learning and the school environment. So proud to be a Lobo, proud to be there, and feeling a sense of that belonging in our community. And then of course we have the technology component that enables students to do their best learning, do their best researching, integrating the digital tools, cultivating the content, and creating that powerful platform for learning.
So hi, I'm Mrs. Nomura. I teach 7th grade math. So what we do in LSI, we have project-based learning for science and the combined social studies, English. And then in math, we have problem-based learning. They're slightly different, but we teach from the same basis. Content is taught through the long-term projects, which again are the project-based learning. We all solve real-life problems that matter to the students, hopefully, or that they're interested in. We just got done with something in math where we went to the moon, and then we went to the outer space after that. And then going to outer space means you have to be able to use scientific notation. So that's how we incorporate. We incorporate everything just in real life problems. Okay. We also, which I really love, is we teach and grade on the 5 learning outcomes. It's oral comm, written comm, and we'll talk more about this later. Agency, collaboration, and not just K&T, which is knowledge and thinking. Instead of just knowledge and thinking, we have 5, which I think is really cool.
So this is a good image to break down PBL a little bit more. Like Ms. Nomura said, it's really the project that guides the learning. It's the sort of the end result, I suppose, that maybe you start with. It's taking away the idea of a big project as the dessert of the meal and instead incorporating it throughout the entire project. So we start with a project launch, which includes a driving question. It's the ultimate larger question that we aim to answer. And throughout the project, we answer by learning bits at a time that we need in that moment. So there are activities, as you can see from the slide, that first red column there's going to, maybe there's some activities, workshops, lectures, homework, a bunch of different learning modalities that will result in a smaller benchmark and a reflection to see how we did and what we need to move on. And then take two, we've got some more learning modalities going on there to help answer the question, get to yet another benchmark, another chunk of information either solved or learned, and then it all culminates into the final deliverable and exhibition, which we will go over exhibitions a little bit later as well.
Okay, so in math, we actually use problem-based learning because we have so many standards to cover. And yes, in LSI, we do address all the standards. So because math has so many, we do what Ms. Robinson is talking about, but on a very shorter scale. Instead of covering weeks, we cover in days, and then we address each topic separately. So like I said, one project was going to the moon and traveling into outer space. So we would teach one topic, which would be scientific notation, adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Okay. So like I said, even though we do the same thing as that previous diagram, we just do it on a very much shorter level. Okay. So this is a wonderful way of looking at what the difference is between PBL and PRBL. Okay, if you notice in the center, we do have entry events, we have knows and needs to knows, we do all of these things, but we do this individually for each event that we do. And there's many activities that we do that make up a unit. So if you notice on the bottom right, it's multiple scenarios per unit. And each multiple scenario takes 2 to 3 days. And we addressed a standard using within those 2 and 3 days. Okay.
Mr. Hiraki, are you on mute?
Yeah, so I'm Mr. Hiraki. I'm one of the 7th grade science teachers. And I'm going to be discussing the 5 learning outcomes that Ms. Nomura had mentioned. So what we like to do at LSI is, instead of just focusing on the knowledge and thinking portion, which is the content, we like to expand and develop other skills within our students. So those skills are written communication, oral communication, collaboration, and agency. And these are really important skills because these are skills that are actually that these students are going to carry throughout their lifetime, from high school to college, and then even when they hit the workforce. So focusing on developing these skills is something that's really important here at LSI. We still do the knowledge and thinking portion, which is the content, but we do also focus on those other 4 that help develop those lifelong skills.
Cool. Thank you, Mr. Rocky. One of the questions that I get a lot is, what does a typical day look like? Now, obviously, given the state of the world right now, our day is a little bit different. But when we are back in person, this is what a typical schedule would look like. Students are going to start in a homeroom or advisory class at the beginning of the day, help us set up and cover announcements, as well as allow students to make a very clear connection with one particular teacher. They then have 2 periods, a first and second period, that are aligned with the LCP periods. This allows them to take their PE class that is a combination of LSI and LCP students, as well as their elective course. We align those periods to be first and second because it allows our students to have the opportunity to take band if it is something they are passionate about, as well as leadership, which we'll go into a little bit later. You'll notice that I highlighted breaks and lunch. I put those in bold because everyone on campus has the same break and the same lunch. So no matter if your child chooses to be part of LSI and their best friend chooses to be LCP, they're not separated all day. We make sure they go out and everybody is a Lobo at the same time as break. Everybody has the same lunch period and spends all their lunch together. School ends at the same day. We have all our sports, our LSI and LCP students. Where LSI goes a little bit different is in those block periods, which occur after the break time. We have 3 70-minute blocks. I think it's 70. The minutes might have adjusted a little bit here, but we have 3 block periods that allow our students to attend those 3 classes: a math class, a science class, and that integrated language arts and history class. And students are able to do that. In order to make sure the minutes work, we do have to split block 2 over around the lunch period to make sure that there's equal time. But it does give students a little bit longer in each class to allow them to go a little bit further into some of that work so they can do some of more of these in-depth pieces there. In order to facilitate that, we use a special learning management system called ECHO, which Ms. Blightman is going to share more about.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ms. Blightman. I am one of the 8th grade math teachers. I am also part of the founding team. Funny story, Mr. Stolin and I used to be partner teachers. So, it's all in the family, and we've been around since LSI started, and we're really proud of that. So ECHO is the learning platform that your students will be using if you decide to join LSI. It houses all the assignments, all the grades. You can get your assignments, you can turn them in there, you can access videos, and everything that you will need will be housed in ECHO. Kind of similar to like Google Classroom or Canvas or Seesaw. This is the platform that LSI uses. There will be a ECHO Parent Night where there's going to be a more in-depth tutorial on how to get you guys signed up, how to make sure you are able to access your child's grades, and a full navigation through ECHO so that you won't have to be, like, oh my God, there's another platform. It'll be fine.
I'm Mr. Neeser. I teach 8th grade science with Ms. Robinson, and I'm here to talk about EdTech, or education technology. And these are some useful teaching tools we use. Their use has actually increased since the onset of COVID, so I guess that's some sort of a silver lining. Some of these technologies we use are Pear Deck, Edpuzzle, and Nearpod. Again, these are all tools that we use to help us leverage or get the most out of the technology we currently possess. See, this EdTech helps us with live or real-time formative assessments, but they can also be used for ongoing assessments and student self-assessment. That's something we really encourage at LSI, is student self-assessment. A little background on these technologies. Pear Deck is an interactive presentation tool. This allows students to manipulate slides. They can draw, type, or drag images. Nearpod, it helps us as educators form interactive lessons. Kind of a cool concept. We can integrate quizzes, polls, videos into our lessons. Edpuzzle is a video platform in which questions are inserted into a video, and students. The good thing about this is students can't skip forward, or if they do navigate away from the site, it freezes, so it encourages them to watch the whole video and answer the questions. Funny side note, that's also probably a good thing for adults. And let's see, Pear Deck and Edpuzzle are both quite fluid, meaning if there's a current event or something happening in the world, that can easily interjected or added into the lessons. As I mentioned, all these technologies can be instructor or student-paced, depending on if we're synchronous, asynchronous, or in the classroom. So those are some of the things we're using right now, and we will be using when we go back also.
All right, so now I'm going to talk about homework at LSI. Now, you may have heard that there aren't any homework at LSI. I tell you now that is false. Now, it's true that homework is not going to be what it was before. One way of thinking about it is homework will be all the things students didn't finish in class. Like there's an assignment that will start in class and they need to finish it at home. Now, sometimes they won't have things to do. Other times, let's say students will have an assignment that's due in a couple of days. You can choose what day you do it as long as it gets completed. For instance, my teachers now will give me about 5 assignments that are due in a week. I can do one every day or maybe do them all at once. Also, when students are in the process of finishing a project, there won't be many assignments, but most of their homework will be only if they need time to work on their project after school, which trust me, will happen.
So I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what Justin said. We do give the students homework. Their homework mostly comes from unfinished work that they don't complete in class. And then, as Justin said, as we wind down our projects, more of that time, that homework time is spent to complete their projects. So at LSI, we do give students homework. There was that misconception that the LSI does not give homeworks in the past, but yes, teachers do give homework. We do expect them to be working on content stuff outside of class as well.
So unfortunately, we are offsite and not able to have you guys have the opportunity to see our beautiful building and our classrooms inside. This is just a small snapshot. We really appreciate the flexible furniture that we have in there. It allows us to be able to design a room how we need to be able to have an exhibition. It also allows us to maybe move it around so we can have a circle and have a very deep discussion about something going on, maybe is going on in the world in a Lighthouse class. It allows us to move desks around so we can have students collaborating. You can see in this picture here that students are collaborating across the table and being able to figure out how to work through a problem together. So we really appreciate that flexible furniture. It is a 2-story building, and each room is about the equivalent of a double-sized classroom because we do have 2 teachers and we have up to 50 students or so in a classroom. So we want to make sure that there's enough space. Obviously, with the pandemic, it does make it a little complex. So we're hoping that when we are able to return in person, we'll be able to get back to all the awesome things that we know and love about LSI and our ability to collaborate in our building. TRR, Ms. Gingrich highlighted our culture earlier, and I think our student, Ms. Mello, can speak best to that culture with TRR. Go ahead.
I will be telling you guys about TRR and what it means to the students here at LSI. So TRR stands for trust, which can be between your peers or your teachers. The first R stands for respect, so respect your tech, your belongings, and everyone on campus or at home. And the last R stands for responsibility. For example, you have to have responsibility for yourself and for your learning.
So yeah, thank you, Noelle, for talking about TRR. So at LSI, we promote a culture of TRR. The culture encompasses both students and teachers. Nothing at LSI functions without trust, respect, and responsibility. We don't have like a whole list of rules, even though there's expensive technology and we give the kids a lot of freedom and a lot of voice and choice. It all revolves around being able to trust our students, being able for our students and our teachers to respect each other, and holding everyone responsible. So there's no list of rules because if you are following that culture, there's no need for it. So what it looks like on a daily basis in our Lighthouse elective, I think somebody's going to talk more about that later. We do have daily circles where we check in with each other and make sure that we know each other on a human level and not just as like, I am your teacher and you are my student. We get to know each other on a deeper level. We have whole school meetings where the whole school gets together where we celebrate our students. And just recently we started celebrating our teachers and it makes us feel so good and it makes us feel like a family. It really is like a family atmosphere. We Stolin.
Oh yeah, push the wrong button. Keep going, Ms. Lightman.
We have student-led projects or student-driven projects. where, you know, the students drive their own learning, their own curiosities really push the projects and the problems in the direction they need to go in order for them to learn. Just like I was saying, like the student driven projects, they are completely, they go directly on student voice and choice, like their voice matters. And we really want the students to understand that their voice matters, and it does drive the learning. And an emphasis on student agency and being an agent for their own success, and having that ownership of their own learning.
And so kind of piggybacking on what Ms. Blightman said and what Noelle said about TRR, the next part of that is restorative justice. So if a challenge does arise, or a disagreement, or there's something where there's a problem and we need to find the solution, we use a practice called restorative justice. So it's a powerful discipline approach. It's not just, okay, here's the rule, you broke the rule, here's your consequence. But instead, everyone who is a part of the challenge or the issue or the problem that's arisen all sits down together and has a discussion that focuses on repairing the harm with this inclusive process. So we sit down, we talk it out. We want to be solution seekers and not just handing out a punishment or saying, okay, this part didn't work out, so this is your consequence. We want to sit down together, solve that problem, look for that solution, and really focus on the TRR so that this student can internalize what happened, what's going on, and how they can work to make that better. And so we do that through restorative justice, which is part of our culture, part of making the students responsible and really take ownership of what's going on and empower them with their agency.
Thank you. We get a lot of questions about our different elective options, and we're going to take a little bit of time right now to kind of highlight all the different electives that we offer. Like Ms. Robinson mentioned, a lot of students end up taking our Lighthouse elective, which is, if you know some of the previous electives from Quimby back in years past, is kind of a combination of some leadership skills, some art skills, and some peer advisory class concepts. Students who participate in Lighthouse will create meaningful projects and learn important life skills. Ultimately, Lighthouse is about building a connection with a teacher, and you guys work, and the students work with the teacher to be able to kind of take on some of those soft skills. They spend some specific time working on oral communication, working on how to collaborate. How do we make sure that we're problem solving and not just trying to get an assignment done? How do we make sure we're putting out our best work? One of the other things that I really liked about Lighthouse when I used to teach it was the ability to connect with those students using those circles. We would have those daily circles, and sometimes you'd have a conversation about something that's going on in the world. Sometimes it would just be, hey, what's going on? What's popular? I remember one circle, someone tried to teach me how to do the Fortnite dance, and it didn't go well. But you're just building that relationship and being able to have a connection. So when the times do get tough, you guys have the opportunity to have a trusted adult to go to. Along those lines, one of the projects that we're really proud of at LSI is our Influential Adult Project. This is obviously from a couple years back when we were able to be in person, but this project is very important to us. It's about the students thinking about who is that adult that has had a big influence on their lives up to this point. That it may be a parent, but we encourage them to find an adult that maybe isn't their parent. Maybe it's an uncle, maybe it's a neighbor, maybe it's a grandparent. It's just somebody that has had an influence to kind of keep them going and have someone else that they can go to. We do a really awesome exhibition where we get to invite them. We make a scrapbook that kind of highlights some of those reasons on why they're such a big influence. And I think the kids and the adults both find it as a very powerful experience. Now, there are other options beside Lighthouse. That's just kind of our one catch-all, but we know that the students have a lot of different passions, and our library has expanded. So I'm actually going to let our students talk about some of the different types of Lighthouse classes that we do offer.
Hi, my name is Omer Shaheen, and I am in 7th grade in LSI this year. Have you ever heard of the coding languages HTML and CSS or JavaScript? If not, you've come to the right place. So let me tell you about this elective or class. This coding class is taught by Ms. Nomura, who also happens to be a math teacher at LSI. In this class, you will first be learning about how to create a colorful, engaging, and ultimate HTML and CSS website on the website code.org. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. Think of it like this. HTML is all the code of your website, and CSS is the things you add to make your website look more aesthetically pleasing. I didn't mention this, but you won't be making a .com or .org website. Join Ms. Nomura on Coding Adventures, in which you will be exploring different data types in JavaScript, such as a Boolean, if statements, functions, and much more. Plus, the coding that you learn in this amazing class will benefit you in the future in case you happen to be looking for a job.
All right, so leadership. Leadership is a great class that helps students develop responsibility, initiative, creativity, and school pride. Students will plan and manage and participate in co-curricular and extracurricular activities such as noon events, assemblies, and dances. This elective encourages positive student/faculty relationships, teaches students about the internal administration of school, and develops government and school community concepts. Those are a lot of big words. What does that mean? So leadership, we do a bunch of fun stuff. We plan big things like school and dances and spirit rallies once we can have big meetings in person again, as well as smaller fun things like activities for lunch to bring up school spirit, or as we like to call it, local pride. Leadership is kind of a commitment. There will be times you can stay after school to help out. There's a separate application for leadership, but if you think that's something that you or your child might be passionate about, definitely think about applying.
So band. At Quinby, we have two different bands, symphonic and concert. Both bands have a mix of LCP and LSI students and are taught by Mr. Ortega. Symphonic is for students who have mastered the basics of their instrument and reading music, while concert band focuses completely getting down the basics for your instrument and reading music. Both bands get to play in concerts and at multiple different events.
So Lighthouse Theme is one that Mr. Neeser and I teach that includes, we have a garden on campus that we maintain and center a project around. And then we have some basic drafting and carpentry. The idea of the class, getting a little bit more into the hands-on approach, the STEAM environment, the hands-on building and creating some engineering, and which of course lends itself to math, and then some art as well in there. The goal being a little bit less screen time and more just getting your hands in there and getting dirty, whether literally in the garden or just kind of getting in there and building something.
I'm Mr. Trinidad.
And we've actually received Lowe's grants as well as grants from Whole Foods. And I guess some of the projects we've worked on are cornhole boards, toolboxes, birdhouses. So this is something that Ms. Robinson and I are pretty excited about. We really enjoy teaching this class.
All right, that's my cue. I'm Mr. Trinidad, and I am the 7th grade English language arts teacher in the class called World Arts, which is a combination of world history and language arts. So at least covering 8th grade elective options, when your child has come into the 8th grade, or I do see one person, one of our attendees who says that they are coming straight into 8th grade, which is great. But once your child has moved to 8th grade, they'll have different elective options available, which are these several different options. So what is included is what our previous slides have mentioned, which it does include the normal Lighthouse coding, Lighthouse STEAM, but also band or leadership for those who did not get it in the 7th grade. And lastly, there is one class called Lighthouse News led by myself, which generally provides a monthly newsletter and news video for all of the students of Quimby to see. In past years, and these pictures were taken from the previous school year and the year before, but we have held large exhibitions, and we're talking, more than 100 people in the audience for our projects throughout the school year. And these have been taking place during school days for the most part, but also some do take place during the evening, let's say around maybe 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, just depending on availability. But it's all our exhibitions are centered around is our students showing off their projects and all that they know to our audience, who consist of course, their awesome parents, any type of professionals who may have helped kickstart or maybe inject some awesome creative juice into projects. Any school and district staff will also be part of the audience. And in the past, I know that we've had even some city council members join, and it was awesome, spectacular. And a few times throughout the year, we have also had visitors from other schools observe our classes in action, where you could see in that center bottom picture. And they have really taken note to what we do. I know we have one school who does visit our school yearly to really take notice as to what awesome innovations we are doing day to day. And we are totally welcome to having different visitors from schools coming in.
So one thing that we're really proud of in LSI is that our projects center around real world applications. And we actually, I think Ms. Whiteman can agree with me. I believe we have never heard the question, why do we have to learn this? We kind of make it clear why we are learning the things we are learning and how it applies to the real world. In exhibitions, it's kind of a way to show our learning and show how the students have kind of solved real life problems, real world problems. Some of my favorites that come to mind are Mr. Neeser and I have a Mission to Mars project where we had our exhibition had parents going through the process of going to Mars, a trip to Mars, all the information that it would take to know how that works from the moment you step foot off of Earth to being on Mars and in a habitat that would enable you to survive on the planet. They are all student run. We have, as Mr. Trinidad said, we have a lot of visitors that come, a lot of guest speakers that come to help. I think his term was inject that creativity and help bring their own expertise to the project. A lot of times they will also attend the exhibitions and they'll get to kind of see it all come to fruition, what they helped the kids learn. And these are just some still shots of some of our favorite exhibitions, both in person and online, which I will have Mr. Hockey explain how it has been working online for him. But typically we do, as Mr. Trinidad said, we do have, we can have in the hundreds of people kind of coming to see what our students are showing off, really, in a good way. And let's see, some of our, well, I'll hand it over to you, Mr. Rocky, and your online exhibitions.
Yeah, so one of the cool things about doing projects is we always end with some sort of exhibition where the students are able to show off their work. And before COVID, we used to have in-person exhibitions. So there's a couple of photos on this slide that are to the left, and that was an exhibition put on by the 7th grade science class. I think this was a couple years ago, And what they were doing was they were teaching elementary school kids who are our visitors about chemical reactions. You know, going with COVID this year, we still wanted to have that same type of experience for the students. So, you know, because we were unable to do an in-person exhibition, all the students in 7th grade this year, the science class, they chose a chemical reaction to do, and they videoed themselves and they explained what they were doing in that process. So it was really kind of cool. We were still able to have an exhibition. This was shared with Mr. Stolin and Miss George for approval. And once it was approved, this was sent out to the students' parents so that they can see the work that the students have been doing in science. So transitioning into some sort of exhibition that's not in person has been challenging, but it was, you know, we've done it here in science. I know that World Arts also did the same thing. They had an exhibition where it was online, where they had visitors come in through a webinar, and they got to experience some of the work that their students have done. But one thing I do want to point out, just kind of a little bit off of the exhibition topic, is I saw a lot of questions about, you know, will these students at LSI be ready for high school? We teach all of the same standards that are taught in, you know, LCP. It's just we're teaching it in a different way. Instead of giving them a homework assignment and grading it the next day, or giving them a test, we're learning all the content through projects, and we cover all of the same standards that are covered in LCP. And then likewise in science, we cover all of the NGSS standards that are recommended for middle school kids.
Piggybacking off of Mr. Hockey, sorry, I just wanted something I had thought of earlier to explain what's taught in each program. Like he said, we do cover all standards. It might just be in a different order than LCP. We also sometimes kind of take several standards and put it into one project. So the student might be learning a little bit of life science with physical science, or however those two subjects play together to create that more real world problem or solution or topic or whatever it is that we're learning. So we tend to integrate standards a little bit more, rather than learning kind of a laundry list of standards, but they're still covered, and we do learn the same things in LSI that they do in LCP.
Okay, and to kind of piggyback on what's been said, I just saw another question too that asked about how we integrate those things. Ms. Robinson just went over it, but in a history language arts classroom, right now in U.S. narrative, we're studying the Civil War, but the way that we're going to present it or explore it is through the perspective of the people who lived it. And so we integrate those skills for narrative, biography, and the other language arts skills, perspective taking, voice, into the history that we're learning. And so our end project will be an event in the Civil War presented through the voice of someone who is actually there. So everything that we do is integrated as much as possible. We've had so many challenges having to do things online and through Zoom, but one of the greatest almost gifts that we discovered this year was our ability to really reach out to more and more guest speakers. So we always have guest speakers come in from the real world, the outside world, and share their skills and knowledge with our students. And this year we've been especially fortunate. We only have a few of the guest speakers here to show you, but we've had so many more. It's one of the benefits of being online. We are able to have people from out of state or from all over the state. One of the guest speakers that we had was the founder and creator of Breakout EDU, Mark, who was able to come in and talk to all of our 8th grade students about his company, how it started, the ideas and the technology behind it. And then for that particular PBL in our US narrative class, the students created their own breakout rooms based on an aspect of the American Revolution. So they took kind of that real world experience that this gentleman shared with them, and they put that into their project. He came back for our exhibition and showcase to see their finished project, but he also came back while they were working to give them feedback on their breakouts and they presented to him and he gave them suggestions. He also took some of their ideas to apply that to what he does. Other guests this year have included Emmy Award-winning author and illustrator of A Fire Story, Brian Fees. He came to us from Northern California, talked to the students about how to tell a story and what went into that. We also had Mitchell Shermack and Tyler White, who are mechanical engineers from Q Forensics, talk to the students from Tallahassee, Florida, and they were talking about working with science classes and the engineering behind that and accident engineering. We also had award-winning comic book illustrator Metcalf, who was talking to the students in relation to their genetics project in science. So not only do we have our knowledge and our work with the students, but we also reach out to our community near and far to add their expertise and guide our students as well.
One of the best things that I like about LSI is that we do our best to set our students up for success and make sure that they're ready to go, and they can speak best to what they take away. Umair has prepared some really great thoughts about what he's kind of taken away in his short time at LSI while in distance learning, and I can't wait to have him in person so he can grow on these even further. But Umair, go ahead and share some of those skills that you've learned.
In the LSI program, there are two main skills that I've learned: presentation skills, agency, and written communication. So for presentation skills, one thing that I have really learned how to do is to improve my presentation skills. Teachers do a great job on demonstrating how to create Google slide decks for both individual and group projects. Once the teachers are finished explaining, students must use their knowledge and collaborate with teammates to start creating spectacular slides. As the students and groups progress into projects, teachers will check in with these groups to see how much they have accomplished during class time. I have definitely learned how to manage the nerves of speaking in front of both groups of my classmates as well as people outside of LSI. So now for agency and written communication, there are several ways teachers can grade assignments to find students' agency and written communication level. Agency has many elements to it, but one of the biggest things the teachers stress to us is how to use agency to make ourselves better students. This means turning in the assignments on time, asking for resubmits if we need to correct an assignment we messed up on. Written communication is how we communicate our knowledge using the written word, most often used in Google Docs. Everything we do in LSI requires us to explain, and oftentimes that means writing out our thoughts in a Google Doc. In math, this skill is used to prove your answer in a PSGO. I definitely feel that I have had to become a better explainer with my writing as a result of being in LSI this year.
Thank you, Umair. I appreciate that. I'm really, really proud of particularly my students, but also everybody just being able to share all this awesome stuff. I know you're all here to learn about how to apply, so I want to make sure that we get all of this housekeeping taken care of. As terms of admissions, there will be up to 150 students that will make up our 7th grade class. All student applications are due by May 14th, 2021. Registration will continue until we're full, and then a waiting list will be maintained if we exceed 150. If it's not complete, you will not be able to submit the form. In years past, that tended to be a bigger deal when we were turning in paper applications. But this year, because of COVID, all applications are going to be completed online. Please note that if you are applying for LSI, it is a commitment for both 7th and 8th grade years. We do our best to make sure that our students are part of our program for 2 years since they are at our school for such a short period of time. However, if for some reason it's not working out, we can consider that on a case-by-case basis. But the hope is that once you try out LSI, you will love LSI and you won't want to leave. Applications are only online. The link will be found on the school website under the Global School Innovation tab. I'm also going to email it out via Parent Square tomorrow, and you can also email me directly, and I can provide that for you. I hope that you guys have taken away a lot of information. I want to make sure we get a chance to answer some questions. So I'm going to stop sharing here at the moment and be able to jump in. I appreciate all of my teachers and my students jumping in and answering some questions. But if there's any specific questions that we haven't addressed, if you'd like to throw them into the Q&A right now or throw them out to the panelists, I will do my best to address those. So I have a couple of people responding to this question right now. Maybe someone wants, already answered it by typing. If we applied, can you confirm you receive ours? So when you apply online using the form, you should receive an email, an automated email from me saying thank you for applying with your responses. If you're having trouble finding that, please let me know and email me at mstolin@eesd.org. I'm going to throw that right in the chat so that way you guys have it if you need to reach out to me for any reason, and I can confirm if it's in there. Another question. Can you tell me more about your selection process and any tips you can make that makes a great application for this program? I'm going to actually put Ms. Blightman on the spot because we actually spent a lot of time thinking about our application. Do you remember some of the things that we talked about when we were talking about who we're looking for when students are applying?
I feel like one of the things I was looking for students who really wanted to learn in a different way. Traditional learning was either not working for them or wasn't challenging enough for them in certain ways, or that they wanted to become a little bit more well-rounded in certain areas as opposed to just content. So we were really looking for students that really wanted to be there, because it shows, like, if they want to be there, they're like a sponge and they just want to suck up all of the knowledge of all of the different skills that they're going to learn at LSI. So I think that was maybe the biggest thing, is like, we want kids that really want to be here and want something different.
Excellent. I'm going to answer a couple questions that were kind of addressed already that came through, but I want to make sure people do get those answered. Does LSI have students who have IEPs or special ed services? Yes, absolutely. We make sure that we look at every student who's applying who may have an IEP or a 504 plan and make sure that we are able to meet all the needs of those. Obviously, every situation is unique depending upon what is in the IEP. There are certain limitations, but we do our best to admit everyone. We have plenty of students that have IEPs that are still very successful in our program. So having an IEP does not exclude you in any way, shape, or form. Similarly, being an English learner does not exclude you in any way, shape, or form. We have students that are EL students that work really well. Ms. Gingrich is actually our EL specialist teacher this year, so she uses a lot of those skills as well. Is there any other questions that are coming by? The last one that I think I want to address is LSI is LSI better than LCP? I think our students can answer this one best, and I think I'm going to turn to Justin because we've been talking about this a lot in leadership.
None of the programs are better than one or the other. It's just different. They're different ways of learning. It depends on how the student is and how they learn best.
Justin, do you regret your choice of choosing LSI?
No.
Good answer. I have a question. One last question here coming in. Does the essay part of the form increase your chances of getting accepted? We don't want the essay to be the thing that prevents you from applying. We don't need you to write a 5-paragraph essay. In fact, I don't need all the grammar to be right. The point of the essay is so I can get to know you and I can know a little bit more about you before you walk in. So it's not just a random person. We want to make sure that we know your students when you get in so we can bond with them right away and build that connection so we can actually make projects that matter to them. Excellent. If you are interested in course curriculum, there is information about all of our, there's course descriptions on all of our courses on our website that you can find all that. There's information there. There are lots of information there. If there's something specific that you'd like to know, please feel free to email me. Like I said, applications are open now. You are free to apply. I will make sure that a recording of this, as well as the slide deck, is available to you for you to review if you have any questions. If you have a specific question you want to get it in really quick, that's great. Otherwise, thank you very much. I know we're running out of time. We appreciate you giving up some time on a Thursday night. And we hope you all have a great night. Thank you so much.